Okay, my camera might not be working. Hold on, give me a second here. Hey, camera. All right, I might be a little fussy today, I guess. I hope you all can hear me well. Oh, you should be able to. So, good afternoon, everybody. Kun Jatupon. Today is actually not about blockchain stuff. So today is actually educational stuff. So unless you want to hang around and hear about doing research project in English, then it should work for you. Hold on, let me fix my camera real quick. This looks kind of funny. How about now? My camera doesn't like me today. It's like, you're not pretty enough to be in focus. So my camera is just like, I'm just not going to focus on you today. But anyway, I will try to fix it as I am talking as well. So welcome back to GSD part two with Tanwa. So again, if this is your first time with me here, we have had GSD Part 1, which is a series of videos teaching you about how to improve your English, right? And that was done in the last semester. If you look in the video description, you will see that there is a link to the Part 1 of this series, right? So again, Part 1, we talked about English and how to improve your skill. Yeah, I know it's out of focus. I don't know what's going on with my camera. I guess we will figure it out in a little bit. Yeah, my camera will get there. It just, I don't know, doesn't work too well today. How about now? How about now? I mean, it's kind of focused. There you go. Yes. Thank you, Kun Chatupon. So GSD part 1 is about English improvement, right? And we started this series because a lot of graduate students always complain about two things. One, English is not good enough to graduate. And two, they cannot write the thesis or the research paper that are required for their graduation. So again, part 1 is all about how to improve your English. So if you're interested, please check out the playlist that is listed in the video description underneath, right? Whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. This is GSD part 2, and today is actually day 2 of part 2, right? So during day 1, we talked about what make a good research project, right? What make a good research project? And then we concluded that a good research project is not a research project that give you new knowledge. A good research project is not a research project that is difficult, right? A good research paper is not a paper that is well written, right? And we conclude day 1 that a good research project is a project that is valuable, right? And by valuable, we meant that a valuable project is a project that change the audience perspective of the world, right? How they think, how they act, how they should behave, how they should forecast something, right? How they, what belief should they have, right? So those are good examples of what make a research project valuable. So today I want to give you a more concrete example of valuable research projects, right? From very, very successful projects in the past, right? If you look in the video description, there are 2 examples that we will be using today. Even though I'm a physics professor, I would rather use a non-physics and non-mathematical examples in telling you what a good research project should look like. So today we're going to look at 2 examples, one from hospitality and tourism. It's on the gender role in deciding your marketing strategy, basically, right? And then the second example is going to be from Daniel Kahneman. He is a Nobel laureate in psychology. And then we will talk about human rationality, right? And we will look at only the introduction part of these 2 papers. And hopefully by the time we're done with this session, you will see that these 2 papers, even in the introduction part of the papers, stated immediately why their project should be valuable to the readers. All right, so let's get moving. So the 2 papers that we will be looking at are these 2. Oh wait, I have to share the screen, don't I? I probably should. Give me a second. Okay. So the first one we're going to be looking at is this paper called Moderating Role of Gender in the Relationship Between Hotel Service Quality Dimensions and Tourist Satisfaction, right? And the first thing you're going to notice right away, if you type this into Google Scholar, if you don't know what a Google Scholar is, we will talk about it either at the end of this video or next week when we talk about finding literature for you to read on, right? So this one is actually quite a famous paper written in 2014. You can see that it's got cited by 4 people and also have 2 versions and all that. So if you click on the article link, the first thing you're going to notice right away is that you cannot get to the full paper, right? So if you scroll down, you will see the abstract of the paper, right? And then you can read the abstract, which is fine. But then when you try to get access to the paper, it doesn't matter whether you are on campus or off campus with VPN connection. Our university doesn't have subscription to this paper, right? This is a big problem. and we will talk about how to deal with this issue next week when we talk about finding literature and what happened when you find a paper that you want and you can't get to the paper that you want. Okay, so just bear with me for this week. Just assume that I got this paper from somewhere somehow, right? So let's look at this paper. This paper, the first thing you're going to do when you read a paper is to read the title, right? So moderating role of gender in the relationship between hotel service quality dimensions and tourist satisfaction. So obviously, immediately you know that they're going to talk about how gender have a role in determining the relationship between the service quality and the tourist satisfaction. Okay, let me show you the full paper now. Again, you might not have access to this full paper. We will talk about how to access it next week. And then you will get to learn about tools from actual example on how to access more paper. Right? But this is the full paper. The full paper looks like this. Okay, moderating role of gender in the relationship between hotel service quality and tourist satisfaction. Right. So the abstract is the same abstract that you saw from the website, which is not that exciting. So let's go ahead and just go into the introduction part, right? And we're gonna read this introduction part together slowly, just so I can get to show you how the author argue that gender should play a significant role in determining your service quality and tourist satisfaction. Okay, so introduction. The first thing the author said is this part: service quality relate to global judgment of satisfaction, right? Pretty simple. Start right off the bat. You say, hey, this is what the author said. If this is a conversation between you and author, the author go, hey, do you know that service quality and satisfaction are related? And then you go, yeah, of course, everyone know that, right? If you go stay at a hotel, the quality of the service at the hotel obviously is related to the satisfaction of the guest. Like, duh, are you stupid? And the other will say, wait, I'm not that stupid. I know that you knew that service quality, right, affects satisfaction. So let's dig deeper. And then he said, well, preceding research. Oh, very important word. Let me highlight that one. Preceding research found that there is a positive relationship between service quality and customer satisfaction, right? So then the second paragraph, he said, previous studies have shown that there is a positive relationship, which means better service quality lead to better satisfaction. And then you go, well, yes, of course, duh, are you stupid, right? Nobody give you better satisfaction with lower quality service. But notice how he start cueing what he's trying to say, like preceding research, right? The first one is kind of a general universal statement that everyone knows, just to grab your attention. Like, hey, do you know that service quality and satisfaction are related? And you're like, duh. And then you go, well, but people have also studied that better service quality give you better satisfaction. And then you're like, duh. But then he has already put this seed in your mind that he would be talking about preceding research. Ooh, very important. And then he moved on to say that several researchers noted that the service quality is antecedent to customer satisfaction. What does that mean? This is the keyword right here, antecedent, right? What does that mean? That means the service quality improvement comes before tourist satisfaction. Right? Let me expand on that a little bit. So what he's saying is that if you are a hotel and you want to improve tourist satisfaction, you need, the second sentence tell you that you need to improve your service quality, right? But then the third sentence said, even if you have improved your service quality, that improvement in service quality happened long before the satisfaction of the customer increases, which means you could be spending money trying to improve the service quality and don't see any effect until much later, right? Because most people would think that if you improve service quality, the survey result would be better immediately, which is not true, right? This first paragraph already give you some knowledge, right? Just this first paragraph alone have already told you that if you want to improve satisfaction, you have to improve service quality. And improvement of service quality happen long before the satisfaction of the customer increases. Just the first paragraph, you have already learned something. But notice, this does not have anything to do with his study at all, right? This is just previous studies. All right, cool. Now, second paragraph, he said, gender plays an important role in adopting information system and product evaluation. So he said, So satisfaction, the word satisfaction, usually people think satisfaction is this unbiased customer judgment of your service quality, but it is not true. He already planted in your mind that gender plays an important role in judging your product. If you are a hotel, gender of the guests play an important role in the satisfaction of the guests. And then he moved on to say male and females have different preferences for web designs, and females tend to be attracted to websites with stylish design, and males, on the other hand, are inclined to search for service and products information, right? So he's saying gender can affect the customer satisfaction greatly, and males and females are different, basically. Like, okay. Blah, blah, blah. So here's another example about computer, which I will not go into. And then this is work relationship, right? That male and females are different, basically. Right? So this whole second paragraph, what is it trying to say is this, right? It's trying to say that the tourist satisfaction in the hotel would be affected by the gender of the guests as well, right? Not just the service quality, but the gender of the guests as well. So the second paragraph is also not his study, but start pointing you in the direction that he wants you to be thinking of, right? So if this was a conversation, it would go like this, right? Let's say I'm approaching a hotel owner, and then I go, hey, do you know that your service quality affect the satisfaction of the guests? And then the owner would be like, yeah, of course. Do you know that the gender of the guests affect the satisfaction at your hotel regardless of your service quality, right? Let me say that again. The same website attract different people depending on their genders, right? It doesn't matter how good your website is, males and females will be attracted to different websites because of the different in social economics or upbringing or whatever, right? So now the owners start going like, oh my God, do you mean that if I improve my service quality, if I target the wrong gender, I might not increase my satisfaction, my hotel satisfaction? And I would be like, yes, that's exactly what the second paragraph is saying in an academic way, right? So now the hotel owners start to get interested, like, oh my God, I could be spending a lot of money in service quality improvement and not improving my tourist satisfaction at all because I'm targeting the wrong gender of my guests. Boom, that's just 2 paragraphs in. All right, let's keep going because we have two more paragraphs for this paper. The author moved on to say that gender frequently being identified as one of the key attributes, and understanding the effect of key demographics such as gender or customer perception of quality is important because gender is fundamental for segmentation and targeting, right? So this just build up on the second paragraph, right? Gender is important for targeting, so therefore we have to segment it better. And then blah, 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 just stressing the fact that male and female tourists may have different views of relationship between service quality, so therefore ignoring any gender-based differences may create problem. All right. Notice the difference between the second and the third paragraph. Right? The second paragraph said a lot of things about the differences between males and females, but not in hotel industry. Right? So the first one is website. The second one is technology. And then the third one is workplace relationship. Okay, and then this paragraph is all about male and female tourists may, let me highlight that, may have rather different views of relationship between service quality and tourist satisfaction. Now notice a big difference between this paragraph and this paragraph. This paragraph, for every sentence, there are references. Right? For this paragraph, anything that the other claims something, there is a reference to that claim. For example, this one say males and females perceive web design differently. Boom, a reference, right? And then this one say, hey, male on the other hand tend to search for other kind of information. Boom, a reference. Okay. This one say male need achievement via the use of technology while female doing something else. Boom, a reference, right? But notice this one. This one said male and female tourists may have rather different views of relationship between service quality dimensions and tourist satisfaction. But no reference. Right? That paragraph just said male and females may have different views between service quality dimensions and tourist satisfaction with no reference. So what does that say about the current status of research so far, right? So what that says is that the current status of research, nobody has ever pinpointed the effect of gender on the connection between service quality and tourist satisfaction. And this paper, why is this paper valuable? Because this paper will help you identify the effect of gender on the connection between service quality and tourist satisfaction. And that alone is very valuable, right? So imagine if this was a conversation with a hotel owner, right? So I go in and then I go, hey, if you improve your service quality, your satisfaction of your guests improve. And then the hotel owner would go, yeah, of course. And then I would go, well, do you know that gender play a big difference in tourist satisfaction and service quality connection? And then he go, well, I probably could have guessed that. And then I go, well, do you know how to target them? Do you know how to target male guests for satisfaction in contrary to the female guests? And the hotel owner probably go, I don't know, because nobody has ever studied it before, right? And that's why this paragraph has no reference. It just said may, right? That's why this sentence has no reference, because nobody has ever studied it before the paper in 2014, which is surprising to me. But anyway, that is what this paper has claimed, right? I don't know if it's true or not, but this paper has claimed that before this paper, nobody has ever paid attention to the gender effect in, oh wait, I haven't shared my screen. Before this paper, nobody has ever paid attention to the effect of gender on the service quality and tourist satisfaction at all. Right? Is that valuable? Of course it is, right? Because if your hotel have a lot of female guests, then maybe you want to improve your service quality in some dimensions and not the others. For example, you might not want to put in 65 inches TV screen so that, I'm being a little bit sexist here, but just stereotypical here. But for example, if you have a lot of female guests, maybe you don't want to have a 65 inches TV screen that is connected to all the soccer games, right? Because statistically, fewer females are interested in soccer compared to male guests, right? Not all of them, of course. I'm not like super sexist, but just stereotypically, like commonly, statistically, females are less likely to be interested in sports. Or on the other hand, if you have a lot of male guests, maybe you don't want to improve your spa, because how many males actually go to spa to be like, get like exfoliation, get their like facial done? Not that many. Okay, so that's his key point, or the other's key point actually, that before this paper, nobody has ever studied it before, right? And then he warned, or I don't know if it's he or she. What's the Norazah? I don't know Malaysian name. But the other said that ignoring any gender-based differences may create problem. So therefore, this study aims to examine the moderating role of gender in the relationship between the service quality dimensions So these are the dimensions that the author is studying, and tourist satisfaction. Right, and tourist satisfaction. And it is essential for hoteliers to respond to tourists' multiple expectation of hotel service delivery to achieve maximum tourist satisfaction. So basically, the author said, this is the crux of this paper, right? So previous study have shown that gender is, service quality and satisfaction is connected. Gender is important, but up until now, nobody has ever studied the effect of gender on hotel service quality and tourist satisfaction. Boom. That's just in the introduction, right? And at this point, if you don't go, what the shit? At this point, if you don't go, what the shit? Is that how I'm supposed to be? Is that how I'm supposed to be reading all papers? Then you are not following me, right? Because that is a very detailed reading of that paper, right? Notice how I just spent half an hour on just 4 paragraphs of that paper, right? And that paper has like 20 pages, right? So if I have to do this, then maybe in a week I can read 2 papers, which is ridiculous, right? In general, you will not have to do this, right? You will not have to go so deep into the paper. But I went really deep into this paper just to show you an example of what does it mean to have a valuable research project, right? What does it mean to be really reading into the paper, and give you an example of how the author claims that the paper is valuable, basically, right? So that's the first paper that we're going to talk about today. Any questions from anyone? Feel free to type it out in Facebook, in YouTube, on YouTube, I guess. Yeah. So hopefully that can give you a sense of like, what does it mean to have a valuable research project? So again, a valuable research project is a project that the audience can change their minds after they have read your paper, right? They can use something from your paper. They can change the way they think. They can improve their operations somehow. So in this case, it's pretty clear that if you are a hotel owner and you read this paper, you immediately should go, oh my God, I have a lot of male customers in my hotel. How could I improve my service quality better just to optimize the tourist satisfaction increases at my hotel? Right? Immediately useful, immediately valuable to any hotel owners who read this paper. All right, so that's the first paper that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to move on to the second paper because I don't see any questions from any of you. All 6 of you who are watching me right now, thank you for joining me on a Friday afternoon. The second paper that we're going to talk about is a paper that is, I wouldn't say a little bit harder, because it is a shit ton harder. It is a really hard paper to read, but it's also a very, 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 very rewarding paper to read. It is this one, right? Maps of Bounded Rationality, Psychology for Behavioral Economics, right? And again, right off the bat, I don't know if you can do this. Let's see. Yeah, you can. All right. So again, right off the bat, if you're like, hey, I want to read this paper, right? Let's follow Ajahn Tanwa and just try to get this paper from somewhere. Immediately, what you're going to find out is that you cannot download this paper from anywhere. You cannot. Oh, the research just now, paper number 1. I will summarize it again at the end of this video, right? Both of them, just so you get to see again what does it mean to be a valuable research project. Yeah, but let me do this one first. So this one, immediately, if you just try to find this paper, right? If you just try to find this paper on Google Scholar, right? And then you just click on it and you try to download it, you will see that you cannot download this paper. So again, this is a really good paper. This is a paper that won the Nobel Prize for the author, but yet at Prince of Songkla University, a leading research university, apparently we cannot download it, because as soon as you try to download it, it just said, hey, would you like to pay money to read this amazing paper that has been cited by thousands of people, right? Because we are a great university. Anyway, I don't want to shit on my employer too much. But you will notice that I have this little green icon on the right, which will allow me to download the paper, right? And in fact, it will allow me to download a lot of papers that you might not be able to access in the beginning with University Connection. And we will talk about all these tricks and tips next week on like what happened, like how to find a paper, how to download a paper if you're not normally able to download it through the university internet connection. Okay, but that's next week, just to keep you coming back. All right, but I have downloaded this paper using some method that we will talk about next week. So let me just show you the paper. Okay, where did it go? Right here. Right here. So again, this paper, do not shit your pants when you read it. Okay, it's a really hard paper. It's even hard for me, but I'm gonna read again just the introduction part, right? Because today we're just talking about how to justify, how to know that you have a valuable research project. So again, keep this in mind that a valuable research project is a project that is change somebody's mind, basically change the way someone think. And in the first paper, we were trying to change the way a hotel owners think, right? A hotel owner would have to change his or her operation to improve customer satisfaction. So for this one, let's go through it together and see what the author is trying to say. So again, we start with the title: Maps of Bounded Rationality, Psychology for Behavioral Economics, right? Psychology for Behavioral Economics. So again, just from the title, you see many interesting things. So first of all, you see the word maps, right? So maps obviously usually give you an overview of a landscape, right? So a map of Thailand will tell you where things are, but you don't get to see the details, right? So right off the bat, you know that this paper is not going to go into much details about many things. It will tell you the general overview of the subject, okay? Bounded rationality, right? So rationality means the ability to think logically. So the ability to take emotion out of the equation and just think about things in a reasonable manner, in a rational manner, right? And the word bounded is very interesting, right? This is what got him Nobel Prize, right? This is what got him Nobel Prize. So for those of you, especially in FHT and FIS, so for those of you not in PSU, first of all, FHT is Hospitality and Tourism, and FIS is Faculty of International Studies, right? For those of you not in hard science, most of the time when you do marketing or when you do product development or business development or whatever, you assume that your customers are rational, right? You assume that your customers will act in a reasonable manner, in a logical manner, right? What Kahneman is saying is that the rationality of people, or the extent that the people are logical, is bounded, which means there are scenarios in which people act irrationally, right? People act without reasons. People don't act logically. So what is this paper provide? What does this paper provide is the maps of this boundary, right? So basically, the author is going to step through the scenarios that make people stop behaving rationally, right? That makes people just go like, fuck it, I'm just going to do this because I like it, right? That kind of thing, right? So he's just going to provide the maps of this boundary of rationality. But not only that, not only is he providing maps for the bounded rationality, he is very specific. He said, hey, I'm providing maps for this, but not just to anyone. It's to behavioral economics, right? Behavioral economics with a little dagger in the footnote, right? Which we don't have to care about. But just from the title, it's very clear who he's targeting, right? He's targeting the behavioral economics. And if you have taken any economics at all, you know that economics are proud of their models, right? Their economic models. Most economic models assume that people are rational, right? People act in a rational manner. So right off the bat, this should have caught your attention if you are an economist, because you assume that people act rationally all the time. And this guy, whoever this guy is, just came in and be like, people are not always rational. Right? So right off the bat, whatever he's trying to say in the title is different than whatever you believe in as an economist, right? So that immediately should have caught your attention. But let's say it didn't, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna keep reading because he won the Nobel Prize. Maybe he has something to say, right? So then you go, well, this work is cited by Nobel Committee, blah blah blah. I did it with this guy Amos Tversky, who sadly died before the Nobel Prize was announced. Blah blah blah. Doesn't matter too much. But then he said, Herbert Simon had proposed much earlier that decision maker should be viewed as boundedly rational, right? So let me highlight that. Okay. Wait. Yeah. Okay. So right off the bat, he's saying, well, even back in 1955 to 1979, Herbert Simon has said that people are boundedly rational, right? Boundedly rational. And the way to think about how people make a decision is to think about this utility maximization, whatever the hell that means. Because at this point, you're not an economist, right? So you probably don't know what it is. But if you are an economist, you go, oh, okay, so utility maximization is something that you're familiar with, right? And then he said, okay, so if you already know that from the past, what are they doing in their research? They said, our research attempted to obtain a map of bounded rationality by exploring the systematic biases that separate the beliefs that people have and the choice that they make from the optimal beliefs and choices assumed in rational agent models. Oh, big words. Let's unpack that a little bit, and I'm going to change color just so you can see the difference, right? So in the yellow, it says, hey, economists, this is what you believe, right? The yellow part is what you have been taught. You have been taught that utility maximization is everything. But hey, listen to me. What I have done with my buddy is that we got a map. We got a map of that rationality that shows that people sometimes are separated from what is good for them, right? People are separated from what is good for them. That is optimal belief. So what is good for them might not be what they're doing, right? So therefore, their rationality is bounded, right? And then he said, this optimal belief is actually what you economists have been using in your rational agent models. So in your models, economists, all the agents are rational. We are saying that your model sucks, right? We are saying that your model sucks and not all agents are rational all the time, right? So immediately that should have, if you are an economist, you should go, oh my God, either this guy is full of shit or whatever I have believed is wrong, right? And if you are a good academic person, you should go, well, I need to find out whether I have been wrong or not. All right, so then we keep going. So then you go, Daniel Kahneman kept going, and then he said, the rational agent model, what our starting point and the main source of our null hypothesis. And then they view their research as a contribution to psychology with a possible contribution to economics as secondary benefits, right? So then he's saying, calm down, economists. We started off as a psychology experiment with maybe some uses in economics. But it turns out that we were drawn into the interdisciplinary conversation by economists who hope that psychology could be a useful source of assumption for economic theorizing. Ooh. So then he went, you know what? We didn't actually want to do economics, but then you guys keep bothering us, right? You all economists keep bothering us because we have shown that whatever we were studying is so different from whatever you believe that you know that it is useful for you to use in economics, right? So now we have to jump into economics. All right, let's keep going. And then he said they hope that to some extent the usefulness of their framework has been realized in economics and have been in active research program by behavioral economists ever since. Richard Thaler is the guy who wrote the book called Nudge. I don't know if you know about it. It's super famous book. Hold on, let me share this with you. This one, let me share the screen. Give me a second. Also, if you have any question, feel free to shoot it up. So, something happens. Okay. There's this book called Nudge, written by Richard Thaler. Okay? So what are they trying to do here is that they are trying to say, hey, not only is our paper so freaking useful, look. This guy, Richard Thaler, right? Just kind of name dropping, like, hey, this guy used our work, kind of thing, right? This guy used our work, Richard Thaler. So then they move on to say that my work comprised of like 3 separate programs, blah, 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 which is not that important. But notice that this is not a long, for the content, this is not a very long paper. So it's just about, let's say, 22 pages, right? This paper has been cited 1,000 times, 1,173 times, which is a huge number. If you're in academia at all and your paper gets cited like 10 times, that's like fantastic, right? This paper got cited 1,000 times. So this paper is super good and super influential. And notice that the value of this research project is already stated within the first paragraph, right? So let me go through this again. Right? For this paper, it said, hey, economists, in the past, when you make your theory and all your models that you base your work on, you think that people are rational and that people will always maximize utility, right? So utility is the concept of how much use you can get out of something. For example, if you are hungry, right? If you are really hungry and you really need to eat, but you only have 50 baht of money, right? You have 50 baht cash. And you have 2 choices. The first choice is, let's say you don't really care about nutrition, right? But you're just really hungry, you just want to eat. You have 50 baht and you want to eat the most food you can. Which one would you rather buy? 50 baht worth of rice, which would be a lot of food, or 50 baht worth of some fancy steak, which might give you, a piece of steak that is like that big, like, like a 10 baht coin kind of size, right? Obviously, you would go with the rice, right? That's utility of that money, right? You have 50 baht and you want to maximize the utility of your money in comparison to a goal. So what this paper is saying in yellow is that, hey, economists, you have been thinking that most of the time people will always go for rice and not like the little piece of steak, right? Because you think people are rational, right? But then the second part said, well, we have found that people are not always rational, right? Even though you might be hungry as fuck and you want the most food you can, but eating 50 baht worth of rice is really not exciting at all. And sometimes you would rather have smaller portion of food, even though it's more expensive and not having the same utility, but it tastes so much better, right? So sometimes people don't just go for the amount of food, right? People go for like the taste and the texture and the look and all of that in like more expensive food, even though that makes no sense at all. You can eat cheap food and live forever, or you can eat expensive food and live forever as well. But one of the options, you have to spend more money. And this author just said that economists in the past, in your yellow world, you have always thinking that people will buy rice. But in the real world, people buy other shit too because people are not rational. Right? If you have ever bought, for example, brand name bags, right? Then you know what I'm talking about, right? A brand name bag and a shitty ass like bag that is super cheap do the same thing. They carry shit. just like one another, right? And economists would say that, hey, people would buy cheap bags because that would maximize the utility of the money. But obviously, people don't do that. And Daniel Kahneman and Tversky just come in and be like, you know what? That's kind of wrong. Let me give you the map of when people are rational, when people are not rational, right? I don't want to shit on economists too much because they actually have known about like this fact between brand name bag and regular bag for a long time. It's just that they don't have the map of when people switch from being rational to being irrational, right? And Daniel Kahneman stepped in and be like, hey, let me give you the map of when people are rational and not rational, right? And then thirdly, he said that, well, not only will I provide you a map in this paper, I will also show you how economists have incorporated our studies into improving their models, right? So if you are an economist or anyone that is interested in decision making with regarding to money at all, you would have gone, oh my God, this is important, right? And then you will sit through and read this entire freaking paper because it is so fun and useful for you, right? Well, it might not be fun, but it's definitely useful for you, right? And I have done it myself. Like I've read through the paper and it's fascinating because it affects the way I think. It changes the way I think. And in fact, this paper and the associated book is, if when people ask me like, what are some good books? This is the one that usually almost always come up for me, right? And all of that just because I understood the value of this project, right? From the first paragraph only. Right? So this, again, is a good example of a research project that is valuable, right? It clearly states who is it for, how it will change your mind, and how you would use it. Okay? So to go back to like the first paper a little bit, right? Just to summarize the two papers together. The first paper said, hey, service quality of hotel affect the tourist satisfaction, right? But different gender customer judge the service quality differently, right? So therefore, if you want to improve the service quality, to improve tourist satisfaction at your hotel, you need to know how to target different gender of your guests. And before this paper, nobody has ever studied it before. Right? So immediately, if you are a hotel owner, you go, oh my God, I have a lot of male customers, I have a lot of female customers. How do I improve the service quality? Using the least amount of money with the most amount of impact to tourist satisfaction, right? Immediately useful. Second paper, you go, I'm an economist, or like I am a decision maker in a financial institution. The way I have been making decision is that I assume that my customers are rational. They will act in a rational manner. And this paper just come in and be like, you know what, you are wrong. You know what, you are wrong because people are not always rational. Let me tell you when people are rational and when people are not rational. And then you can use that map that is provided by this paper to target your customers better, right? To target your theory better, to separate the cases in which people are rational from the cases in which people are not rational. Immediately valuable, right? Now contrast that to some of the papers you guys, or not you guys in general, but from my students, for example, in the past. Usually your paper would go like this. I am studying the stratification of soil in the land area in Payao district. We have found that the stratification of soil in Payao is different from the stratification of soil in Bangkok, because in Payao, most of the soil is composed of clay, whereas in Bangkok, the composition of soil is mostly sand. Therefore, we conclude that the nature of soil in Payao is different from the nature of soil in Bangkok. End of my study. How important? How interesting is that? Not at all. Because I would go, okay, all right, so Payao soil is mostly clay and Bangkok soil is mostly sand. I made all of that shit up, by the way, just like the way it sounds like. But anyway, so and then as a reader, I would go, how is that useful for me? Like, why am I interested in this? Like, soil in Payao could be made out of, I don't know, jello or something. Or like, soil in Payao could be made out of spaghetti. Why should I care? Right? So that's usually the first comment that I give to my student. And then the student would go, oh, I don't know. And then I would be like, well, think about it. What do people do in Payao that is different from what people do in Bangkok? And then they would go, oh, maybe agriculture. And then I go, well, why don't you add, since the soil in Payao is different from the soil in Bangkok, farmers should care about what kind of plants they plant in Payao compared to what they plant in Bangkok because of the nature of the soils that are different. Boom, immediately useful, right? Because now the paper would read, if you are farmers in Payao, you should plant ABC because the soil in Payao is mostly clay as compared to the soil in Bangkok that is mostly sand. But what we have found from market research is that most of the farmers in Payao try to imitate the farmers in Bangkok on what to grow, which is not good for their farm. Immediately useful, right? So that is the point of this lecture, right? Anytime you do a research project, make sure you know whom is it for and why would it be useful for them. If you can't answer these two questions, you do not have a research project. You have like a mini research study that you are having fun with your advisor. And I have seen many advisors that commit this error, right? It was just like, oh, let's go study this because it's new and nobody has ever done it before. No, bullshit. You could do new things that is not interesting at all, right? You need to do things that are interesting and useful, not new. New usually come with being interesting and useful, but it's not always the case, right? Do not focus on being a new knowledge. Focus on being valuable and interesting and useful research project. Mohd said he wrote a book called Thinking Fast and Slow, which is so difficult to read. Well, good example paper. Yeah, exactly. So that's the book that I was mentioning. Like Thinking Fast and Slow is a really, really fucking difficult book to read. Took me a year to actually finish that book. Like I read it the first time, I gave up because it was so difficult, and then tried again the second time, gave up midway, and then the third time I was like, I need to finish this book because it is useful, right? I have to say that book, he is not a good author, right? He's not a good author at all. His writing is complicated. His writing is too complex. His writing is hard to understand. And the structure of the book is not even all that good. Like the structure of the book is all over the place. But why did I read it? Why did 1,000 people cite his work? Because his work is useful, right? Even though his writing is shit. His research project is good, like the methodology and whatever is good, but his writing is shit. Is he doing something new? Well, maybe, but he's doing something that is very interesting and very valuable to everyone, right? So that's why he won the Nobel Prize, because it is valuable and useful, right? So if you want to be successful, do not aim to be doing new research project. And if your advisor has a problem with that, tell him or her to come talk to me. Most advisors understand, but I have met some people like, oh, we should always be doing new research on new knowledge. Bullshit. Don't do new research. Do interesting research. Okay? So so that is that for this week, basically. Unless anyone have any questions, feel free to type it out. But so yeah, that's conclude basically the first part of the first section of part 2 of GSD on what does it mean to have a valuable research project. Okay. And then starting next week, we're gonna go into, okay, now that we understand that we need to have a valuable research project, how do we find one? Now that's a very fun part. Right? That's a very fun part of trying to understand this problem. You're like, okay, I get it. I need to have a valuable and useful research project, but I want to do research in hotel tourist satisfaction. how do I find my own valuable project? How do I find my own interesting research project? Right. So that's going to be next week. Like if you already have sort of like a big area that you want to focus in, how do you find an interesting research project? All right. With that being said, thank you again for joining me today. And GSD with Tanwa. Hold on. Let me do the hand sign. GSD with Tanwa Part 2. Come back every Friday at 1:30. So if you miss out on past episodes, you can click on the playlist that is underneath the video description. And you can also go back to Part 1 again to review on how to improve your English skills. With that being said, thank you for joining today, all 8 and 10 of you. And I will see you again next week at 1:30 every Friday. All right. As for today, have a good afternoon.